Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really tackling something pretty big here. We're trying to synthesize the core ideas of psychological counseling and guidance.
Yeah, it's a huge field.
Right. And our mission is to kind of cut through the evolution, from therapies that spend years digging into your childhood.
Literally the first 6 years sometimes.
Exactly. All the way to these like super modern approaches that basically say, forget the past, what are you doing now?
It's a necessary comparison, though,
Yeah.
because even with these wildly different techniques, the foundation of good guidance philosophy is pretty consistent.
What's that core idea then?
Well, fundamentally, it's about valuing people, helping them reach their, maximum potential, and making sure we study behavior scientifically without bias. At its heart, guidance is really about stopping problems before they start and, well, fostering growth.
Okay, fostering growth. But the how? That's where things get interesting. It feels like two totally different worlds.
Like, absolutely.
One's like this deep archaeological dig, looking for buried secrets in the psyche.
And the other's more like a high-speed drone survey, just looking at what's happening right now.
That's a great analogy, actually.
So let's start with the dig. How on earth do you even start trying to access something a client doesn't consciously know is there?
Well, that is the absolute core challenge of classical psychoanalysis, Freud's work, famously. The whole mission, it's explicitly about bringing what is in the unconscious to the conscious.
In a big hidden iceberg part of the mind?
Exactly that. The mind, for Freud, had layers. You've got the conscious, what you're aware of right now.
Okay.
The preconscious stuff you could remember if you tried, like what you had for breakfast.
Right.
And then the massive, really powerful unconscious. That's where all the repressed drives, the instincts, the painful memories live. And they drive our behavior, even if we don't realize it.
And it's the clash inside, isn't it, between those primal drives and our sense of morality. That's what shapes us.
That's the idea. Freud mapped out this personality structure. You've got the I.
The demanding toddler part? Kind of, yeah. Pure impulse, wants pleasure now. Then there's the superego.
The inner critic.
Exactly. Your harsh, internalized moral judge. A lot of that comes from what you picked up from parents' society early on.
Okay.
And caught in the middle is the ego. It's like the overworked manager trying to deal with the ibid's demands, the superego's rules, and, actual reality.
Wow. Sounds stressful for the ego.
It is. And when it gets overwhelmed, it uses what Freud called ego defense mechanisms, little tricks to cope.
Give us a classic example, something we'd all recognize.
Oh, rationalization is a perfect one. We all know the sour grapes thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't get the job, or the relationship doesn't work out. Instead of feeling the disappointment, you tell yourself, oh, well, I didn't really want it anyway. It probably would have been bad for me.
Yeah, okay. Guilty.
Or think about regression. An adult under huge stress might suddenly start acting much younger, maybe throwing a tantrum or needing constant reassurance, like a child.
That sounds incredibly detailed, but classical analysis has this reputation for taking forever. Why so long?
Because the theory demands it, really.
Yeah.
It holds that your adult personality is basically laid down in those first 6 years, the psychosexual stages.
Right.
So getting to those really deep unconscious conflicts, the ones buried way back then, well, that takes a lot of talking, a lot of interpretation, developing insight. It can easily be 5-10 years.
Wow.
It's a huge commitment. And honestly, it tends to suit people with a high level of intelligence, verbal skills, and often quite specific, severe neurotic issues or personality disorders. It's not a quick fix for everyday problems.
Okay, so classical psychoanalysis is this deep, time-heavy excavation, but others must have looked for, well, a faster way, or at least a different way.
Definitely. Which brings us neatly to transactional analysis, or TA Eric Berne.
Ah, TA. This feels like a bridge, maybe. Still
Yeah.
looking at patterns, but the language, it seems much more straightforward.
That's exactly its strength. TA talks about the parent-adult-child ego states, PAC. And the idea is we shift between these states all the time. The parent state can be critical, like your own parents were, or nurturing. The child state holds our feelings, our spontaneity, maybe rebellion, and the adult state. That's the rational bit, the objective, here-and-now processor.
Like the computer part of the brain.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about clear thinking, assessing reality. And the whole point of TA is to get to awareness, spontaneity, and intimacy,
Wow.
mostly by strengthening and using that adult ego state for good judgment.
But TA isn't all positive, is it? It also looks at how these patterns mess us up. I'm thinking about. Life scripts.
Oh, life scripts are absolutely central, and they can be really damaging. They are literally decisions you made as a very young child, based on messages spoken or unspoken from your parents or caregivers.
Decisions made as a child that run your adult life.
Exactly. Often totally unconsciously. These scripts dictate your life's plot. Things like, I mustn't be close, or I mustn't succeed, or even really dark ones like I mustn't exist. They come from how parents reacted to needs, feelings, existence itself.
That's heavy. And how do these scripts keep going through games?
Yes, psychological games. A game isn't fun despite the name. It's a pattern of interactions, transactions that seems okay on the surface.
Like just a normal conversation.
Could look like it. But underneath, there's a hidden ulterior motive. And it always ends with a bad feeling, a payoff. That negative payoff actually confirms the person's life script, keeps it going.
Can you give an example? Maybe the drama triangle.
The drama triangle is perfect. People stuck in games often flip between three roles. The persecutor blaming, critical, the rescuer over-helping, often to feel needed, not genuinely helpful, and the victim feeling powerless, sorry for themselves.
Then they switch roles.
Constantly. It prevents real connection, real adult-to-adult relating. It just fuels the script.
Okay. So Freud and Byrne, different language, but both involve some serious digging into past patterns. Now, let's leap forward. Big shift in philosophy, right? Away from digging in pathology towards function, context.
Exactly. A move towards acceptance, functionality, what works now. You really see this in what are called the third wave cognitive behavioral therapies, like ACT acceptance and commitment therapy.
ACT Stephen Hayes.
That's the one. ACT brings in mindfulness, but also something called relational frame theory, or RFT.
RFT, what's the simple version of that?
Basically, it's about how our amazing human ability with language, connecting words, ideas, experiences can actually trap us. We create links and rules in our minds that cause suffering.
So language, our best tool, can also be a cage.
In a way, yes. ACT's main goal is building psychological flexibility.
Flexibility, meaning?
Meaning being able to contact the present moment fully. As a conscious human being, and based on what the situation affords, persisting or changing behavior in the service of chosen values. Dysfunction, from this view, isn't about having bad thoughts or feelings. It's about getting rigid.
Rigid how?
Getting hooked by thoughts. Avoiding difficult feelings, what they call experiential avoidance. Running away from discomfort. And this leads to unworkable action.
Unworkable action. I like that phrase. What does that look like?
It's doing things that give you maybe short-term relief, but take you away from the life you truly want to live, away from your values.
Like drinking too much to avoid social anxiety, even though you value connection?
Precisely. Or endless scrolling online instead of, say, working on a project you care about, or spending time with family. ACT basically says, pain and difficult thoughts are part of life. Don't fight them. Acknowledge them, make room for them, and commit to actions that align with your values anyway.
That idea of acceptance feels key in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT too.
Very much so. MBCT is often an 8-week group program. It's very structured, focuses intensely on present moment awareness, noticing thoughts without judgment, and self-compassion.
Wasn't it first developed for depression?
Yes, specifically for preventing relapse. Teaching people to recognize and step back from those automatic negative thought spirals that can trigger a depressive episode.
But it's used more broadly now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's being looked at for anxiety, stress, even chronic physical conditions. There's interesting work with fibromyalgia, for instance. The idea being that reducing the mental struggle around the pain can actually lessen the experience of the pain itself.
Fascinating. Okay, so ACT and MBCT focus on our internal experience, thoughts, feelings. What about shifting focus to the stories we tell ourselves? Narrative therapy.
Narrative therapy makes a really radical shift in power. The core idea is the client is the expert on their own life, not the therapist.
I like that.
And a key technique is externalizing the problem. This is crucial.
How does that work?
Instead of someone saying, I am depressed or I am anxious, the therapist helps them rephrase it, like depression is trying to convince me, or anxiety is attempting to hijack my day.
Oh, okay. That immediately separates the person from the problem, gives them space to fight back, almost.
Exactly, give them agency. The goal is to challenge and deconstruct what they call problem-saturated stories. These are the dominant negative narratives people have about themselves and their lives.
Where do those negative stories come from?
Often, they argue, from wider cultural messages, marginalized discourses. Societal pressures or biases that tell people they're not good enough, or their life choices are limited because of their background, gender, whatever.
Right.
Narrative therapists often use creative methods too, letters, journaling, even analyzing photos or music to help people find unique outcomes. Those are the little moments that contradict the problem story, the exceptions. Then they help weave these into a new, preferred, more empowering life story.
So we've gone from digging in the past self to accepting the present self to rewriting the story of the self. Now, what if the self isn't even the right place to focus? What about the whole system, like the family?
Now you're moving into systemic theories. And a major one is structural family therapy, linked strongly with Salvador Minuchin. Minuchin basically said, forget the inner worlds for a minute. Let's look at the structure of the family, who talks to whom, who's in charge, what are the subgroups, parents, siblings, and crucially, what are the boundaries like?
Boundaries. We hear that word a lot. What does it mean in this context, structurally?
Think of boundaries as like invisible rules about emotional distance, how separate or connected family members are.
Okay.
So rigid boundaries are like high walls. Family members are very separate, maybe emotionally cut off, disengaged.
Not much warmth or support, maybe.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
On the other end, you have diffuse boundaries. These are like no doors in the house. Everyone's in everyone else's business.
Yeah.
That leads to enmeshment.
Enmeshment, where people can't tell their own feelings apart from others.
Exactly. Lack of independence, over-involvement. Your mood depends entirely on someone else's mood.
So how does a therapist actually change these boundaries if they're, like, baked into the family?
They get active. A key technique is enactment. They'll actually ask the family to demonstrate the problem interaction right there in the therapy room.
Role-playing the fight.
Basically, yes. And then the therapist jumps in. They might physically move people,
Yeah.
block someone from interrupting, encourage someone else to speak up. They actively restructure the interaction in the moment to model healthier boundaries.
Yeah.
Very action-oriented, very here and now.
Wow. Sounds intense.
It can be. Another systemic approach, Murray Bowen's intergenerational family therapy, looks broader at patterns passed down through generations.
Using those family trees, genograms.
Exactly. Genograms are detailed maps of the family system relationships, major events, patterns going back maybe 3 generations or more. It helps see how current issues might be echoes of the past.
And the goal here is?
The big goal in Bowen's theory is differentiation of self. This is a lifelong process, really.
Differentiation. That sounds important, but a bit abstract. Can you break it down?
Think of it as your ability to be your own person within your family system, to separate your thinking and feeling selves, to maintain your sense of self, your own thoughts and values, even when there's pressure from the family, to conform or react emotionally.
So not getting totally swept up in family drama or anxiety.
That's a huge part of it. Being like a sturdy tree in the wind, rather than a leaf being blown around by everyone else's emotions and expectations. The less differentiated you are, the more your emotional state is tied to the family's ups and downs.
Powerful concept. Okay, we've covered deep past, present acceptance, rewriting stories, restructuring families. Now let's hit the speed round, the really fast, forward-looking stuff. Solution-focused brief therapy, SFBT.
SFBT basically throws the rulebook out the window when it comes to problems. It operates on the principle that you don't actually need to understand the origin or the cause of a problem to solve it.
Really? They don't care where the problem started.
Not really, no. It's highly collaborative, very future-oriented. They see the problem as like a locked door, the keyhole. Their job isn't to analyze the lock. It's just to find the solution. They believe focusing too much on the problem just reinforces it.
But hang on, doesn't that risk missing something important, like underlying trauma or a really serious issue that needs that deeper look? How do they justify skipping the why?
It's a fair question. Their argument is that change happens anyway, and deep insight isn't always necessary for it. The core belief is that clients already have the strengths and resources they need to solve their problems. They just aren't aware of them or aren't using them effectively.
So the therapist's job is to uncover those existing solutions.
Exactly. To amplify strengths and past successes. Their techniques are all designed to do this, often very quickly.
And the most famous one is the miracle question.
Ah, yes. It's elegantly simple. The therapist asks something like, suppose tonight, while you were asleep, a miracle happened and this problem was solved. Since you were asleep, you don't know what happened. What would be the very first things you'd notice tomorrow morning that would tell you the miracle occurred?
Ah. So it forces you to describe the solution in concrete detail, not the problem.
Precisely. It bypasses the whole problem talk loop and gets the client visualizing a positive future, identifying concrete behavioral changes.
And they use scaling questions too, right? The 1 to 10 thing.
Yep. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the miracle and 1 is the worst it's ever been, where are you today? And then, crucially, what's keeping you from being 1 point lower? Or what would need to happen for you to move just 1 point higher?
Focusing on small steps.
Tiny, manageable steps. It builds hope and tracks progress. They also use exception questions,
Which are?
asking about times when the problem wasn't happening or was less severe. Tell me about a time recently when you felt even a little bit better, or what was different about that time. It helps clients realize they already have moments of competence and control they can build on.
They're mining for existing success.
Exactly. And even the homework reflects this, the formula first session task.
What's that?
Often, they'll just ask the client, between now and our next session, I want you to observe what happens in your life or relationship or family that you want to continue to have happen.
Wow. No mention of the problem at all. Just look for the good stuff.
Right. It primes the client to notice existing strengths and positive actions, reinforcing the idea that solutions are already present. So if you step back and look at this whole journey, it's pretty amazing. Counseling and guidance have really evolved
Yeah.
from that mandatory, often years-long deep dive into the unconscious past with Freud
Yeah.
to these incredibly tailored, present-focused, action-oriented tools. Things like ACT helping you accept what is and commit to values, or SFBT basically co-constructing a desired future, sometimes in just a few sessions.
So for you listening, I think the big takeaway here is understanding this fundamental split. When you encounter any approach to change or therapy, ask yourself, what's its starting point? Is it essentially asking, okay, why are you broken? Let's dig into the past and find the root cause.
The excavation model.
Right. Or is it asking, forget how you feel for a second. What actions, based on what you truly care about, can you take right now to build a life you value? Or even what's already working that we can do more of?
Yeah, the building or solution-finding model. That contrast really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it?
Definitely. What's the final thought?
Well, while those classical approaches give us this profound understanding of how the past does shape us, these modern brief therapies offer a really hopeful message. You might be able to create genuine, lasting change, even if you never fully figure out the deep psychological reasons why the problem started in the first place. So the question becomes, what strengths, what solutions, what exceptions are you maybe overlooking right now simply because you're so focused on analyzing the cause of the problem instead of noticing the existence of the solution?
A perfect note to end on. Stop digging, maybe start building. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.